Hello? Hello?
Hello.
Hi, am I in the right Zoom in for the central pen?
Uh, I
I'm
think
not sure.
so.
It says at 1 o'clock I have a volunteer at Harvest a Blessing.
Good afternoon.
Okay.
Hi, Debbie. Yes, you're in the right
Okay,
place. Good to see
okay.
you. Yes.
Yeah.
No
Thank you. Hi,
worries.
how are you? How
We're
are
up.
you?
We're doing
Okay,
okay. It's
okay.
nice
I
to see
wanted to
your
make
face.
sure I was at the
Yeah,
right. Okay, thank you.
perfect.
Thank you.
Absolutely. We'll get
Thank
started in a few minutes.
you. Okay, no problem.
I just don't know why it's not showing me.
Well, I have to talk to them and see.
Well, I'm not sure how to do that.
Just have to say something.
Hello, everybody.
Oh, here it is. There we go.
Hello.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining. We're going to ask that you all stay muted with the amount of folks that are joining today, but thank you for coming. We're going to get started in just a moment. I'm just allowing everyone to hop on.
There's no deposit. That is absolutely no.
We have more folks coming in.
Their highest rated. The negative ads from out-of-state billionaires are false.
All right. Thank you for joining. We're asking that everyone please stay muted as you enter the chat.
Hello.
Hi, Gerald. Please stay muted for me.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Thank you
oh,
for joining. Good afternoon, everyone. We're going to get started shortly. All right. Good morning, folks. I believe we have well, not good morning, good afternoon. I believe we have a lot of our folks on for us. I'm just going to make sure I have our key folks pinned for us. All right, well, we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you for joining us for the SNAP changes and the CPFB network response. We have some housekeeping to get us started. So you'll notice we are all muted. With the amount of folks that were able to join us, we decided that we're going to have two Q&As today with the questions that you have sent in when you registered. And then we'll also try and answer some questions through the chat. So please do engage in the chat for us to look over your questions. With your video, we love seeing your faces, but if you're seeing some Wi-Fi connection, please feel free to turn it off to help with that connection. And then meet your CPFB team. So I have them pinned for us. We have Tara Davis, as you all know, our Senior Vice President, Chief Programs Officer. We have Zach Zook, our Senior Vice President, Chief Strategy Officer. Maria D'Isabella, our Senior Agency Services Manager. Laura Goddard, our SNAP Outreach Manager. Katie Kerr, our Government Relations Coordinator. And then myself, Ashley Huff, Agency Services and Programs Coordinator. For our agenda today, we're going to be updating you on the food bank's work during the shutdown, the federal shutdown impacts and the status of our November benefits, the impacts of the One Big Beautiful Bill, the changes to SNAP and the future of SNAP in Pennsylvania, the state budget impasse, our SNAP team initiatives, and how to become a volunteer site. So to start us off, I'm going to pass the baton over to Tara Davis to talk about our updates with the food bank.
Thank you, Ashley, and good afternoon, everyone. I hope you are doing well, and thank you for joining us. I'm pretty sure this is our largest webinar we've had, and for good reason too. We're glad that you are all able to come here, come together, so that we can be able to share with you what we know now, and then also hear from all of you too, and just be able to ask some questions that I'm sure other folks are wondering as well. So. As you know, we are trying to do our best to keep on top of some of these things, and gonna ask Zach to fill in any holes that I may miss, because we've been working very closely with one another to ensure that we know everything that's been going on. But we're certainly here at the food bank trying to ensure that we are looking at every aspect within the food bank to really try and support all of you the best that we can. And so that means that we need to continue to hear from you, right? So you have our contact information. I'm just reminding you to reach out to your agency services representatives or to any other food bank contacts that you have, because I do know that some folks that are on this webinar today are not just necessarily a food pantry. For our food pantries, our partner agencies, those that have been ordering food from us, we have been provided with grant funding here this last week, and had announced in our communication to you on Friday that we were going to be utilizing that large donation to provide funds on account for you. We're working on that, and we hope that that'll be done by the end of the day Friday. If not, should be finished up by Monday. So take a look at your accounts on that. And we just want to, again, just a special thank you to WellSpan Health for graciously donating those dollars to us, and for really just stepping out in front and saying, hey, we know that there's a crisis here. We know that you're not getting the support that you usually do when there's these kinds of crises. What can we do? So thank you, WellSpan. We appreciate you, and your longstanding partnership with us and support to all of our partners. In addition, any of the partners or agencies within our 27 service territory that receive state food funding, we will be providing another 3 months of state food funding to those agency partners, even if we are not your lead in the county. So we have contacted all of our other county leads within our service territory, and have offered the advancement of 3 months of SFPP funding, and are getting that confirmation this week and hope to have those funds on account by Monday. So please keep an eye out for that. Food sourcing and delivery. Our food sourcing team is definitely taking a look at the inventory, making sure that we are stocked as best as we can, to make sure that if you're seeing that increase, you're able to order that food that you're needing to be able to keep your pantries stocked. And so, right now, I think we were at about an 81% inventory fill, and we're working on, I think, ordering an additional 7 core items that we find are often ordered through our agencies, and that is being done as we speak. In addition, we also recognize that we do have agencies on the smaller side, and maybe also who are being challenged with being able to spend money to purchase food, and making that 800-pound minimum. We are temporarily reducing that minimum poundage order to 400 pounds. So please note again, I will say that again, and we'll have some more communication that goes out, but our 800-pound minimum will be reduced to a 400-pound minimum, so that we can try and better serve those that can't necessarily make that minimum. The other thing I will mention to you is that some other conversation we've been having here today, or in the last couple days with our food sourcing and transportation team, is whether or not we see the need for the development of new drop sites. So some of you may already be part of a drop site. Drop sites are where we have multiple agencies picking up in one site that may not be able to meet that minimum poundage order. And so if you think that you may have a space or an area that could be a potential, it's not necessarily a guarantee, but we would like to hear from you in regards to that. And then I will let you know that we do plan on, as we need to, at minimum, do weekly communications to all of you, so that you know what we know. There may be weeks that we don't know a whole lot, but we're going to make sure that we communicate that to you, so that you know, like I said, what we know, and what we're working on to try and best support all of you, along with our neighbors that we're all serving. Lastly, I will just let you know that we are opening up office hours. So office hours will be hosted every Monday from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. and every Friday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Please note those office hours are not in person, they are virtual. So, if you show up at our door, we're going to welcome you. Don't get me wrong, but you do not have to drive here for our office hours. You may just press a button and come on virtually and connect with us if you happen to have any questions. We felt as though that could be an opportunity for folks to be able to just hop on at your leisure there. So those QR codes are below on the screen there if you want to go ahead and scan them, but we'll also have links that we can send out to you as well. So I think that is all of my updates. I'm going to ask my colleague Zach Zook to fill in there in case I missed anything. And then as well, he, I believe, is up next for the next slide anyway. So Thank you
Yep.
so much, Zach.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Tara. I think one of the reasons why we wanted to do office hours is because this situation is unprecedented that we're facing with the potential, with the very likely delay of SNAP benefits and potential non-issuance in November. And so no one fully knows what to expect, but we do know that we're in it together, and we want to understand like what you're seeing every day as the situation constantly evolves. And Tara did an awesome job outlining our food bank actions. Just like this situation is constantly evolving, we don't know when the end will be. But I'll give some updates on the next slide as to some of the things that we are hearing and thinking. But our response will also evolve along with the situation. And so we'll continue to assess and do all that we can to support you as we face what is really unprecedented need we expect in November. But again, we don't know the magnitude of what we're going to face and the need that's going to be out there. So we're going to work to continually assess that. And we want to hear from you of what you're seeing and how we can continue to evolve our response and our update. The only other thing that I'll mention on the food sourcing delivery side of things, in terms of the magnitude of trying to increase our inventory, we committed $250,000 to try to increase our inventory offerings, including funds to increase the number of staple items that we have on offer, and then just to bolster our inventory generally. So we are trying to get out ahead of having enough inventory on hand for the potential increased need in November. So on the next slide, wanted to go over some of these things. So when we first scheduled the SNAP webinar, the primary purpose of it was to go over the changes that we expect to see with the One Big Beautiful Bill. And Katie is going to go over that on the next slide. But since then, we, of course, are facing the potential delay or the likely delay in SNAP benefits for the month of November. This has not happened before. In our service territory, 391,000 people receive SNAP. That's more than the total number of folks that our network serves together. So we serve about 270,000 people together as a network. The average SNAP benefit is about $170 per person, and the total SNAP benefits per month in the Central Pennsylvania Food Bank Service Territory is $67 million. So that is the magnitude of the potential delay. But again, it is possible that the federal government has a solution to this in the next couple of weeks. And so the SNAP benefit might just be delayed in November. We believe that once the government reopens, SNAP benefits will be repaid for the month of November. But again, this hasn't happened before, so we don't know that with 100% certainty. We do expect, however, that WIC will be funded for the foreseeable future. This appears to be something that is committed to by the administration. So we are right now focused on the potential loss of SNAP, as we think that is our biggest risk and the biggest thing that we're facing right now. So we are definitely going to see a delay in SNAP benefits in November. We think it'll take about 10 days for benefits to be dispersed once the federal government reopens or whenever funding is made available, just because of the administrative processes that are involved in trying to get SNAP benefits loaded onto people's EBT cards. Again, this is in the context of never having seen this before. SNAP is much, much larger than the charitable food system, provides 9 meals for every 1 meal that we provide. So we're not sure the magnitude of the increase, but we are committed to working with you to support you throughout this entire ordeal. I'll also mention that some of the other actions we're taking are to really be out there in the media, talking about the issues of missing SNAP in November, talking about the importance of SNAP, talking about how the charitable food system is not meant to replace SNAP, but we're going to do everything that we can to respond to the situation, but that we also need the public's help. And so we'll be continuing to talk to the media and talk to anybody who will listen about just how important SNAP is and just how much support our charitable food partners need in this situation, as well as the Central Pennsylvania Food Bank. As well, this is in the context of reduced federal government assistance already. And so year over year, we've seen federal food assistance drop to charitable food programs by about 50%. And so that's the context in which we have less food from the federal government already to be able to respond. So that means that it's even more important for our communities to step up and support charitable food providers during this time. We're also on the government relations side working as hard as possible to communicate with our lawmakers just how important SNAP is. I think the one benefit of this situation, if there is any at all, is that it shows just how critical SNAP is to our communities because so many people rely on SNAP, about 15% of the population in Pennsylvania. When Katie outlined some of the changes in the One Big Beautiful Bill, there's risk to SNAP in the long term as well. And we believe that this event right now shows the importance of SNAP and can help us long term work to advocate with lawmakers to reverse some of the changes in the One Big Beautiful Bill, because right now what we're facing shows just how important SNAP is. I think that is it from me. The only other thing I'll mention on the positive side is that we're working at a state level to try to get interim support for charitable food providers. And there's a bill in the Senate to provide $50 million to charitable food providers during this time, above and beyond what we would receive in an eventual state budget. And so that would be an increase of $20 million above what we normally get. We normally get $30 million for charitable food programs during the state budget. So the state budget's delayed, but the Senate is working on trying to allocate some emergency funds to charitable food providers, and we're trying to encourage them to do that, of course, and to help us use those funds as effectively as possible. I'm going to pass it to Katie, and I know that was a ton of information. We're going to have Q&A at the end of this section, so I'm going to pass it to Katie to go over the One Big Beautiful Bill.
Yeah, thanks, Zach. So as many of you are hopefully aware, on July 4th this year, the One Big Beautiful Bill was signed into law by President Trump after being passed by Congress. This bill is very detrimental to SNAP. It cuts nearly $200 billion from SNAP across the country through cost-shifting measures to states, through increased work requirements, which we'll hear a little bit more about from Laura in the next few slides, as well as limiting the ability to update benefit levels. So we're very concerned about this. As Zach said, we continue to engage with our congressional delegation to let them know how important SNAP is and how these changes put through by the One Big Beautiful Bill are not only administratively burdensome, but burdensome to the people who are utilizing these benefits. One of the biggest changes we've seen, and we will see here in Pennsylvania, is a cost shift of SNAP benefit payments shifted onto the states based on payment error rates. So across the country, the shift for the cost of SNAP benefits can range between 5 and 15%. Again, Pennsylvania is in that 15% category. I'll talk a little bit about this in the next slide, but just wanted to put that out there that there is, now states are having to pay into this program, which is something that has never been had to occur before. The next thing is, again, updated work requirements for people with dependents and older adults and veterans, among other people. Laura will get into this a little bit more in detail. The list is long, and Laura is our resident SNAP expert, so you will definitely be able to learn more about how these changes will impact your neighbors. And the last thing I'll mention here is SNAP Ed funding was eliminated. SNAP Ed funding was going towards the SNAP Ed program, which was, again, a federally funded program that allowed nutrition educators to be in the community, talking with people who utilize SNAP benefits and educating them on how to use those benefits, financially well, to make sure that they are stretching their dollars, but also using their SNAP benefits to purchase healthy foods and how they can, create meals with those items as well. The food bank is still very much committed to nutrition education. So even though this program has been eliminated at the federal level, we still have a nutrition education team. So we will still be out in the community talking with pantries, talking with neighbors about the importance of nutritious foods, and hopefully doing some additional education on how people can really prepare foods with what is available at our food pantries. All right, so jumping into a little bit more in-depth impacts of the One Big Beautiful Bill, it really is kind of concerning for the future of SNAP in Pennsylvania. Again, based on the current payment error rates, Pennsylvania will have to pay 15% of SNAP benefits, which works out to about $650 million every year that the Commonwealth will have to provide. Eventually, the state will be able to kind of revisit their payment error rates. I'm not sure at what rate that will occur, but hopefully over time we will be able to get those rates down so that the state will have to pay into the SNAP benefit system less and less. But as I had mentioned in the last slide, the federal government previously covered benefits 100%. This is completely new in the 60 plus years of this program existing. States have never had to pay in to fund the benefits themselves. They have had to pay administrative costs, which we will also see, I believe it's a 25% increase. So it'll be an additional $125 million per year for SNAP to be funded administratively in the Commonwealth. So that is a lot of money. As Zach said, we are in a state budget impasse, and right now this year, the biggest holdup is transit funding, and this funding is for SNAP benefits is going to be kind of comparable in number. So I think moving forward, it is a big concern for our network of how the Commonwealth is going to afford that. Our team is definitely working at the state level and trying to think about ways that we can kind of influence policy potentially to kind of help mitigate this increase in costs. But we will keep you apprised of any information as we move forward. But for right now, the biggest change you need to be aware of is just that the work requirements are going to affect this Sunday, November 1st. So Laura, again, will talk about this here in the next slide. Coming October 2026, administrative funding, which is that $125 million, will go into effect. And then in October 2027, that state cost share goes into effect, which will likely be that $650 million per year. So we have a little bit of time to prepare, and hopefully there is time to kind of undo some of these changes. But as of right now, this is how the legislation is written, and this is what we are expecting. So again, we will keep you informed of any changes that occur over the next few months to a few years. So I think Laura here has the next slide.
Okay, there we go. Sorry, I'm not sure why it took me so many tries to unmute. But thank you, Katie, and good afternoon, everyone. So there are quite a few changes that have occurred either this month or that will occur on Monday in Pennsylvania. So the first one that we wanted to just touch upon was that the elimination of what's called the heat and eat state option that Pennsylvania has used for many years, which in essence allows households to draw down or to maximize the federal SNAP budget or benefits that they were receiving. So to get a bigger benefit than they would otherwise receive without this state option. And it did require some funding from the state side that they had provided in order to participate in this state option. But again, that's been eliminated. So effective the beginning of this month, October 1st, all households now must verify their utilities that they pay in order to receive what's called a standard utility allowance. And I don't want to get too bogged down in the weeds, but as I always say to anyone, like if you ever want to chat about any of that or any of this in more detail, I'm always available and happy to do so. But basically what that means for our neighbors, right, that are impacted by this is that those who are paying utilities but maybe have not verified that they are paying for their heating or cooling expenses are the ones that make the biggest impact on SNAP benefit amount. They saw a decrease in their benefit amount or they're receiving less than what they are eligible for, or there are households that because they don't directly pay for their heating or cooling did see reduction in the benefit amount. Obviously, more or less what this means is that for the majority of those households, they're going to see a reduction or did see a reduction in their benefit amount. Another update that is taking effect that where we're going to spend most of our time well, first, well, another change was there are certain immigrant groups who used to qualify for SNAP that no longer will. So now the only immigrant groups that will be eligible for SNAP will be those who are lawful permanent residents. Sometimes we refer to them as LPRs or green card holders. But there is a little asterisk there, and that is because not all green card holders are eligible. For adults, they have to be here at least 5 years as an LPR before they can be eligible for SNAP. But children can be eligible right away, and refugees and asylees. Anyway, getting in the weeds again. So just know that there is going to be a significant portion of the immigrant population who was receiving SNAP that now no longer will be. Thankfully, though, Cuban and Haitian entrants are also still eligible, as well as COFA citizens, which have been in the past. I don't know that there are many in our state that will be eligible that way, but just be aware that there are still some immigrant populations who will be eligible for SNAP benefits, just not as many as before. And that if there are households where there are any U.S. citizens present or eligible immigrant children, they could still be eligible as well. It just looks different because the benefit amount is prorated. In the long run, what this means and the impact it has for households where there's anyone who's a non-citizen is that it's another layer of complication that could make the difference in whether or not a household actually receives their SNAP benefits, just because it does add to that administrative caseload and just opens up areas where people who could be eligible are not going to receive benefits. Takes a little extra work. And then again, with the time limited benefits or the work requirements, it used to be 18 to 54, but now most adults who are between the ages of 18 and 64 who do not have a permanent disability or a child in the home who's under 14, they either need to work, participate in a training program, or volunteer in an approved program for at least 80 hours a month to continue to be eligible for SNAP outside of 3 months in a 3-year period, or if they qualify for an exemption. And we're going to look at the exemptions, but let me just say that one more time. So for most adults, if they don't have a permanent disability or a child under the age of 14, they have this work requirement of at least 80 hours a month or an exemption. Then if they don't meet that, they only receive benefits for 3 months within a 3-year time period. And right now we're right smack dab in the middle of that 3-year time period. It's the set for everyone. It's the same. So we have a whole other year. It won't reset again until 2027. So that's where we're at with that. And then we could go to the next slide, please. For the potential exemptions. So thankfully, there are still some exemptions from the time limit or the work requirement. If someone has a physical or mental condition that keeps them from working, even if it doesn't rise to the standard of a permanent disability, that can make them exempt from the limit, but a caseworker needs to be aware. And I will mention that this whole list here, there is a screener one pager that the Department of Human Services has created. And that if a household fills that out, it can let the caseworker know that they might qualify for one of these exemptions. And what we're telling neighbors, my team is telling neighbors, just to make sure that they let their caseworker know that they have one of these exemptions. That's really important because it makes them qualified for eligibility for 6 months rather than having to verify. Well, most of them do, like their pay and everything. So it's much easier for the county and also obviously for the individuals if they meet one of the criteria for these exemptions. So yeah, the physical and mental condition, if they're homeless, and there is a certain definition for that, but I just always recommend that if a neighbor considers themselves to be without permanent residency, then they let the caseworker know. If they're pregnant, if they're a victim of domestic violence, full-time VISTA volunteer, and there's a whole host of things you can see here. I don't know that we need to dive into each one or that we have the time to do so. But again, always happy to do that with anyone. And I just had one little caveat in there I wanted to make sure everyone was aware of. So going to school, like whether that be like a traditional college program or a technical school after high school graduation. Um, in order to be exempt from the work requirement, they have to be attending the school at least half time. However, there are special work requirements for college students or students participating in post-secondary education to be eligible for SNAP. So even if someone meets the criteria for being exempt from the work requirements this way, there's still a work requirement for those students. So again, it all just goes to show that this is very complicated policy, and why Pennsylvania in the past, as they've been able to, has worked very hard to make uh, areas exempt, and exemptions that are no longer available due to the recent legislation. Um, so thankfully, there are ways that households can continue getting their SNAP benefits after 3 months. Again, the easiest way, or the most the least work way, is probably to, if they meet an exemption and be eligible, because even if they are working, they still then don't have to submit timesheets on a regular basis. So it just makes it more likely that they'll be able to continue getting those benefits without any delays. But if they do not meet an exemption, they can either work or attend an approved training program for at least 80 hours a month. That's on average. And or earn at least $217.50 a week. And that's before taxes or other withholding. So their gross income from a job. Or if they earn at least $145 a week from self-employment or gig work, like, think of any of like the DoorDashes, Lyft, those type of things. And then the last option is if they volunteer at an approved place. And those hours that are required are actually set by the DHS caseworker, depending on what the SNAP benefit amount is that the individual is awarded. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that later, so I won't go into details about that. And then there is just a note here that even if someone does meet one of these guidelines, it doesn't guarantee that they're going to receive benefits. There are other policies that can impact eligibility, but this is strictly for meeting the work requirement. So what can you do to help neighbors? And I know, Katie, I think we're going to both speak to this, but honestly, even with November benefits being delayed, DHS is still, and we are still encouraging neighbors to apply. So they can apply either through the state's Compass website or by calling our SNAP helpline. And the number's on there, the 1-877-999-5964. And we can help a neighbor apply for SNAP benefits over the phone, or answer any questions they might have about the program. I know a lot of my team has talked to neighbors who are very nervous and anxious and have a lot of questions about what this federal shutdown means, and are hearing about it all over the place and maybe getting information from different places. So feel free to send people our way. We're happy to help clarify some of that and help them the best we can. It's really important that even if they don't receive their benefits on time in November, that if they're up for a renewal, or if a caseworker asks for verifications for an application submitted in October, it's really important that they still submit all that stuff to the county, so that once benefits are able to be released again to recipients, that there isn't like this massive backlog of applications that need processed, or renewals and verifications, so that they can get their benefits as fast as possible. So really just helping us to encourage neighbors to continue to do that would be fantastic.
Yes, I can jump in here, Laura. So my team and Laura's team have been working together to pull together a great resource, which is hosted on our website at this link here. I should be able to throw it in the chat. I encourage you all to kind of stay up to date with potential updates to SNAP. If there are any major changes, you can find them at this link. We are kind of working to revitalize this page every couple days as we know more. So this is going to be a really great up-to-date resource. And the next thing I will talk a little bit about here, and Maria, if you also want to jump in, that would be great. I know there's a little bit of discussion about, furloughed workers or federal workers who are just, not receiving any pay. So I think there is maybe a little bit of misunderstanding on how we can potentially calculate income for the self-declaration of need. So, my understanding, Maria, please jump in too if you'd like to, is that pantries are able to adjust their basic equation to like a weekly basis in terms of income for that self-declaration for TFAP. So you might consider just adjusting for some pantry visitors, for their specific needs. Again, Maria, you might have a little bit more to say on this.
Thanks, Katie. 100%. So our agencies are a trusted resource for any neighbors and all neighbors. Those of you that use that Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture self-declaration of need form, there's a yearly amount, monthly, weekly. So if a new neighbor would come, you would ask them if they would qualify, if they're at or below that income according to their household number. So you could slide across to look at that weekly amount to then be able to qualify. So then that form is tied to government food if your agency is receiving USDA TFAP entitlement or TFAP bonus. If that family would qualify, you could provide those goods to those neighbors. But here's the good news. Any of your other donated product can go to any neighbor in need. So all of you are able to give that food freely. Any donated product can go to any neighbor coming to your doors. If it's government food, it would have to be with a self-declaration of need form, and you can look at that weekly amount to qualify those individuals. And if, again, you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. We're happy to discuss those questions individually. So thanks, Katie.
And the last thing we'll say here on this slide before we jump into our Q&A, if you have any questions for the SNAP team, please reach out to the general email, which is snap@centralpafoodbank.org. Laura and team are there to answer your questions. So in addition to our weekly office hours, definitely encourage you to reach out to us with any questions you may have. So for this first Q&A session, we have questions that you all sent in prior to the meeting, so we thank you for that. The first question I have from Ms. Tara Davis: how can pantries prepare for the increased need? What is the most effective way for them to do this?
Great question. And I think there's a lot of different ways, and not one way is the right way. I would say first and foremost, try our best to keep our shelves stocked, and to, be flexible in our services to our neighbors. Understand that they're all coming from a different place, but then also utilize us. Utilize the food bank and our team here to be able to support you. We need to, we cover a large service territory. So, it's hard for us to keep our ears to the ground in every single footprint of our territory. So we really do rely on you to let us know what's going on and how we can best serve. At the food bank, we continue to reach out to our donors and our food sourcers to be able to see what else we can do to continue supporting you. Also, we're a network. We're a network of partners here. And so, we use each other to be able to bounce ideas off of, talk to, share things. Don't forget that you're not in this alone. And then, also, let's make sure that we're checking in on our volunteers and or staff that are helping with our neighbors that are coming to us maybe for the first time, just coming, distraught. So not one answer for you, Ashley, because I don't, if I had a magic wand and I could maybe, get that one idea answer, but I think it's a compilation of a few things, but just don't forget that we're here and you can reach us in many different ways for support.
The next question I have is for Zach. Is the food bank able to secure more food to meet the increased need that we expect to see in November?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I mentioned this previously, but we're investing more in increasing our inventory, both the quantity and the variety of inventory. We're doing things like raising our reorder points to adjust for what we think will be increased demand, trying to lower barriers for food deliveries. And I think although the advancing the 3 months of SFPP was primarily in response to the state budget impasse, the decision to advance an additional 3 months to get everybody to 6 months of SFPP was in response to the federal government shutdown and the delay of SNAP benefits in November. And so I think the advancing the additional 3 months of SFPP was important because it gives us some additional funds and flexibility to adjust to the magnitude of the response that is needed. And again, we don't know exactly what that will be. We'll find out together. And so we'll count on you all to provide us with feedback of what we can do better, what things you're seeing in our inventory that you wish you could order, but you're not able to find. That kind of feedback is really, really helpful. And we're going to do the best that we can to increase the amount of food that we have on offer during this time. The other thing that I'll mention is that everybody knows this in this group, but we're in a long-term hunger crisis with food insecurity increasing by 44% in Central PA's service territory in the last 2 years. And so I think we've been trying to communicate that to the public as best we can, because we know that we'll need increased funding, increased food beyond the government shutdown. We know already that due to cuts in food assistance, there was less food already available as everybody was serving more people. And so I think that's something that we're also focused on at the same time, is how do we, over the long term, also respond to the increased need that we're seeing and support folks sustainably.
Thanks, Zach. And I have one more for you. Do you anticipate the quantity of certain items to be reduced in our inventory because of increased needs or supply chain issues?
Yeah, I don't anticipate supply chain issues at this point. I think we're trying to actually increase the variety of items available in our inventory in anticipation of increased need in November. That said, it does take time, of course, to get orders in. And so we're trying to increase and bolster our inventory ahead of time. I also want to note that we've been communicating with federal legislators, and people have been really responsive to us communicating the importance of programs like the local food purchase agreement, and trying to restore that and do that permanently, as well as restore some of the TFAP loads that have been cut. And so we're trying to, again, both work in the short and medium term about increasing the amount of food that we have available for the network.
Thank you. My next set of 3 questions are for Maria and Tara. So the first one I have, can pantries host another distribution to account for increased need? And can we ask people to show their EBT cards to prove they receive SNAP or WIC? We did have some pantries reach out and ask this personally.
I can take this. Thank you, Ashley. And excellent questions again from our network. Just wanting to know, not sure of how to address this unprecedented issue. So we definitely encourage, if you're able to have additional distributions, that again could come from a special food drive that your church or community might host on behalf of you, or if you have excess produce, to have a pop-up produce distribution. That is not a requirement. That is totally up to you if you are willing and if you're able to do so. Again, asking of a specific EBT card to be shown is not something that we will encourage at all. Again, to receive any services at any agency, any ID is not required for service. I'll say that again. An ID is not required for service. It can be helpful to help for intake or other things like that. It is not required to receive services. It can, again, be asked to help support. So I see some great responses overall, and that's amazing. And this is the power of this network. This is what you do best. This is your wheelhouse. And again, you know your neighbors, you know the need, and you're going to be seeing folks that you've never seen before. So how can we respond and can we help support you? Again, seeing what your community people are rallying to help all of you, and we need to be there alongside of you. So excellent question. Do what you can when you can.
Maria, I think you just lined it up for me to give this perfect plug for Vivery. For those agencies that are with us and partners with us, we have a feature, new Find Food feature, with a program called Vivery. And so if you choose to do an additional distribution or a special produce distribution, and we know this works because we have one of our very own pantries, Northern Dolphin Food Pantry, who has tried it, along with many other cool features that Vivery offers to our neighbors when searching for food assistance. It also provides you with the ability to text the neighbors that you serve. So, just for instance, we've had pantries that have had excess of produce, and they have pushed that messaging out to our neighbors, and more than, I think, 1,200 pounds of produce has been gone in within 4-hour time frame. So, if you're not sure what Vivery is, message one of us. We want to make sure that you're on that system. Thanks.
Thank you. And I think this next question can also be a plug for Vivery too. Where can we send neighbors who are in need of food, or where can we find, food pantries that are near us?
Yeah, I mean, great question. So that is definitely for those that might be working in some other human services elements that are talking to neighbors that are in need of food. You can send them to our website, which is centralpafoodbank.org, and we have a Find Food feature on our website that you put that neighbor's zip code in, and it allows you to do a search for within that zip code area. You can actually do it in a different radius of miles. I think it goes as low as 1 mile, and can go pretty far for those more rural neighbors that are in need of food. So that is one way. There's also your 211, and then also your Find Help features are some of the bigger resources out there to be able to find neighbors food locally.
Thank you. And then for our last question for this Q&A, how can we put neighbors at ease?
Ashley, thank you so much. And great question from the network. Again, trying to make sure our neighbors get what they need, meeting those needs individually is very, very important. Again, I want to make sure that all of you are taking care of yourselves. Rely on your support system. Look at your locus of control, the donut. What are you able to control? And make sure that you're doing the self-care, because if you're not at your top game, we're not able to serve our neighbors at our top and our best. First off, take care of yourself. That oxygen mask, put it on yourselves. Take care of your team. And then make sure to be able to support the neighbors as best that you can. Sometimes it is as simple as, all these things. You definitely do them every single day. It is even having a neighbor come off to the side and just listening, because there are so many complicated situations out there. Food is our basic need, and being able to solve it, that is our simplest way to listen and to serve, and to do it best. So you have all of those things. You are empathetic, you are sympathetic, and more so now than ever, we need to be ready for what is up ahead. So thank you for that, and we'll do our best to keep our neighbors keep ourselves in check and our neighbors at serving them best.
Yeah. And, just a reminder, we find that all of you and the services that you provide are one of the lowest barriers of service to neighbors that are finding themselves of need of food and other services. And so I know many of our pantries have actually been hearing from their neighbors in needs of other things. And so just remember that in the time of uncertainty, there's stressors that may cause people to react a certain way. And so I think we need to try our best to be able to just listen and understand, and just remember that, our network is considered to be a lower barrier. And so creating that welcoming atmosphere to somebody can make all the difference in the world, even if you don't have the answer for them.
Awesome. Thank you so much, team. So now I'm going to hand it over to Katie, I believe.
Great. Thanks, Ashley. So as we have already talked a little bit about over the past few slides, Pennsylvania is still in a state budget impasse. I believe today is day 121, so we are very far into this crisis. And I just want to assure you all that we are paying attention to what is going on at the state level every day. That is, most of my job is really being apprised of the biggest changes we're seeing at the state and federal level. So rest assured that our team is paying close attention and advocating to make sure that our network is well represented at this time. Many of you may also know that our network has not received the State Food Purchase Program or Pennsylvania Agricultural Surplus funding since July. And we have heard from our team that the food bank is going to be fronting another 3 months of that because of the impasse at the state level, and of course because of the potential for November SNAP benefits to not be released. But again, we continue to monitor the situation, and as Zach had mentioned earlier, there is a piece of legislation up in the Senate as of this week. We are advocating for that. The House of Representatives is supposed to come back soon, hopefully with kind of a sister piece of legislation. So we're hoping to see that emergency funding be passed through the House and the Senate here within the next few days. But of course, we are just at the will of the General Assembly. So we will continue to do all that we can and encourage you to reach out to your representatives and senators and share your experiences with them all. But we will stay in touch with any changes that come forth in the next few days. And I will kick us off, and then I will let Laura kind of explain a little bit more about the CPFB SNAP team initiatives. I will start here towards the bottom of the slide here, but you can request a SNAP team visit your site at this link here, which I will throw into the chat momentarily. We have been working hard in Lancaster County to do visits to food pantries for SNAP Blitz, which we are also hoping to kind of transition into a little bit of a different program where we are coming out and training volunteers or staff members at pantries on how to submit SNAP applications. But Laura, I will pass it over to you to talk about the other initiatives here on this slide.
Yeah, thank you, Katie. So we've updated our snack rack flyers and some of our other materials, all of which are available on the agency resources site or page on our website under SNAP materials. So those are all updated now at this point and available. Also, we will be sending those out through deliveries on the trucks. And if for those of you who come in to pick up, we'll have those available to you in the next couple of weeks. Our team is eager to get out there and visit your pantries, your locations, and to talk directly to neighbors, to answer questions they might have about SNAP and help those who aren't currently receiving SNAP or who might even need to do a renewal to apply or do that renewal. And those requests for either materials, if you need some hard copies, or for us to come out and visit, I think Katie just put that, yes, in the chat for us. If you click on there, that lets us know who's interested in having us out. But don't be surprised if you hear from someone on my team as well, as we reach out to try to set up times to come out and visit your distributions. And I thank you in advance for allowing us to do that, because you're the trusted partner in your local areas and your communities. And we thank you for that, and for allowing us to be there to meet with individuals to help them get signed up with SNAP. And then we also, I think we're going to be talking a little bit more about our work with Service Insights data. But for those of you who are participating in Service Insights, we are looking specifically at your sites for our outreach efforts this year, in a very focused way. So you can definitely, hear from us, I'm sure, in the next coming weeks. So, but thank you in advance for that. And Zach, were you wanting to take this, or would you like me to take this one?
Sorry, I was unable to unmute there. So I just wanted to jump in. First of all, just in case you're not aware of what Service Insights is, it's an electronic neighbor intake tool that's made free by Feeding America, that we are rolling out across our entire service territory. It helps replace the paper self-declarations of need form and allows you to have really great insights on statistics and other things that are happening with your services. So if you're interested in that, in Service Insights and you're not on it already, please reach out to Ashley Lucas. We can put her email in the chat. She's our Service Insights manager. Just wanted to say we're trying to do all we can with Service Insights data to try to increase SNAP participation. One of the things that we've been trying is if you at a pantry level ask an income question that is not required, that is optional, it was on the previous slide there, Ashley. It just is really high level of what income category represents the total income of all household members in a typical month. With that data, again, that needs to be an optional question to receive food, but it cannot be required. But if folks do answer that, and we combine that data with whether it's okay to contact them, household size, and SNAP participation status, we can calculate on the next slide. You can see we're able to group people into different buckets of income categories and do some really focused SNAP outreach that can be really effective about increasing SNAP participation for folks who are very likely eligible and are likely eligible for a lot. So I think the below the poverty level is the category that we try to target with SNAP outreach. And there's lots of possibilities here, but just wanted to flag this as trying to be innovative and use data available to us to try to get people more food assistance that they might be eligible for. I know we're at time, so I'm going to stop there and go to the next slide. I believe this is Laura, but we also have some new updated referral forms for folks. Laura, you can jump in.
Yep. So this just lists all the many different ways that you can get referrals into us. That really, we found that is really the most successful way that we can get in touch with neighbors is when you let us know that they are interested in getting our help. So you can either, there's a link there for how you can do that online, or you can email those to us, or even fax them in. And you can find, again, that updated referral form at our agency resources page on the site.
And I think I just wanted to add of why are we focused on SNAP outreach at this time? It's because we believe SNAP, despite what we're facing in November, is the most critical nutrition support available to folks and will be so going forward. So we want folks to continue to apply for the program to be eligible and receive the benefits that they're eligible for, because it is really a really effective way to reduce food insecurity in our communities.
All right, so I'll go over this very quickly and then we'll follow up via email for this. But for many SNAP recipients, I shouldn't say for many, but for some SNAP recipients who are meeting the are required to meet the work requirements, volunteering is an option. They can volunteer at a 501c3, and our partner agencies will have to deal with the PA 1938 form. Misspelled form there, so apologies about that. But we will send out that information. But just be aware that this is something that is coming down the line. And if you're in need of more volunteers, reach out to our team. We are more than happy to help you sign up for Golden Volunteer or Time to Sign Up, and really just help you mobilize a volunteer network. And last thing I'll say here is PA Navigate and the Department of Human Services are reportedly working on a project to help our community members find volunteer opportunities. I've reached out to my contact at PA Navigate, so once I hear back from them as to what the best general contact is for PA Navigate, we will send that out so that way you can stay in touch and get your organization on a list for people to see and volunteer at. Thank you to everyone who has been able to stay on with us. I know we're at time. I do have some poll questions because we still do want to hear from you. So we have some 3 questions here. What can CPFB do to be helpful to you through this difficult time? We'd also like to know your concerns and what you are currently doing to address this increased need that might be helpful to share with the whole network. So please take a couple minutes to answer these poll questions. All right, we're getting some answers in. Thank you. And again, if you have any questions, the chat is open, so please feel free to utilize that as well. All right, I see some of you are offering some weekend distributions or additional distributions for our neighbors, or hosting a food drive or donation campaign. That's awesome. For some folks that hit the other option, do you mind putting that in the chat for us so that other folks can hear more about what you're doing to address this increased need? Awesome. Some of us are increasing hours. That's awesome. Very awesome. About 67% of the folks answering are hosting a food drive, 14% so far, weekend distribution or additional distribution. I'm sorry, I'm trying to look at the chat too. A lot is coming in. Sharing local resources like church-based food distributions or community-based free meals. Project Share is using a monthly neighbor newsletter to convey info to neighbors to give additional resources. Awesome. All right, and I have 52% of you hitting other, so love to see those in the chat. Increasing our outreach so the community knows that we are available to offer assistance to increase awareness for donations. Awesome. Oh, awesome. Robin put in the chat, if you aren't already, check out Dollar Tree Dinners on social media. A great way to share some resources for neighbors to stretch food, provide information about pantries and community resources online or in-hand resources when visiting neighbors. Growing our volunteer staff, most definitely. Budget Bites website is excellent to share with folks as well.
special topical emails to congregation about the ways needs are changing locally paired with requests. Awesome. Scheduled for next week. Okay, awesome. I'd also, again, like to plug our office hours. First one tomorrow at 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. I almost said p.m. Not that long, just an hour, where we can also go over the questions that you may have as well. And then again on Monday, and these will be ongoing. Oh, and Maria put them in the chat for us too. Thank you. I'm going to end the poll, and I'm going to look over our Q&As. Some folks have added. All right. So I have a question for the team, if that's okay, if we can quickly go over them. Does the Central PA Food Bank have a USD approved area where a food bank could repackage meats when we can purchase meals at a lower cost per pound than what they currently offer? So I'm going to direct that to Tara or Maria. So the question, does Central PA Food Bank have a USDA approved area where the food bank could repackage meats when we can purchase meats at a lower price per pound than what they currently offer?
Wow, that's a great question. And Tara, please feel free to jump in. And this is a great conversation to have offline with this individual agency. We work with certified USDA butchers. They do the work for us, especially when we do the local fairs. That is who we must work with. But your idea is outside the box, but let's make sure that we jot that information down. We can have that conversation offline.
Yeah, Maria, I think I do believe Shyla is on the webinar here today. So I would love to be able to hear from Shyla for her to be able to address this as well. Oh,
Hi,
can you
everyone.
unmute?
Thanks so much for being
Okay.
here. Yeah, sorry, I had an unmuting issue. Thanks, Maria. And you're right. From the perspective of using a USDA butcher when we take meats that we get from our Bid Buy Donate program, or in other ways that we connect with farmers and use our past funds to do that. We do know that there are some other food banks who engage in this work. In fact, the Atlanta Food Bank is one that does engage in that work. We unfortunately at this moment do not have a facility that we would be capable of having that happen. One of the interesting things that I learned when I toured the Atlanta Food Bank was that there is a USDA inspector in every day, and that bleeds into the rest of the facility. And so we would have to do, we want to do the work around understanding what that means, but there's a lot of stuff that goes into making sure that we have everything equipped and ready to go to be able to do that. So unfortunately, it's not something that could be done on a short-term basis. This is a project that would take some time for us to be able to put together. So thanks for the question. Certainly something that we're looking at from our strategic plan standpoint, and always happy to have some innovative ideas as we move along. So thank you.
Thank you, Shyla. All right, and since we're 10 minutes past time here, I just want to thank you all so much for joining us today and staying 10 minutes after for us and submitting questions. This recording will be sent to you after with the answers to the questions we had answered previously, and maybe some other questions as well. Again, those office hours are going to be so important if you want to chat more with us about it, or reach out to your representative here at the food bank. We'll drop some emails in the chat and then also with the follow-up email as well. But thank you all for your time, and we'll talk to you soon and we'll keep you updated. Thank you.